Okay, so let's go to this session where in the previous session we discussed the virtualization concepts, what is the operating system, the basics of the operating system, what essentially an operating system, the key functionalities they are expected to provide. We looked into the kernel and hypervisor concept, type 1, type 2, what is a virtualization, how virtualization is helping in terms of the server virtualization, network virtualization, storage virtualization, desktop virtualization. So a lot of things have been happening. Now, since we have read and gone through some basics of the operating system, so we'll dig a little bit more deeper into two of the very famous operating system that have been used heavily on the end user side as well as on the server side, right? Which is Windows and Linux. So let's start with the Windows operating system. Yes, Abdul Rahim, go ahead with your question. Is virtualization evolve emerging technologies and how? Virtualization is an emerging technology. Emerging technologies like technology which are coming and taking over the and helping with the evolution of the industry and modernization and all that, right? So virtualization definitely is one of the technology. It's not new technology. I won't say, call it new. It's being there for many years, but it's being used very smartly, very efficiently, and in virtualization technologies that we are reading right now, right? We are studying this hypervisor virtualization, hypervisor operating system virtualization, server network. So these technologies or capabilities that virtualization bring is being used in many evolving technologies, in many emerging technologies. You will see a lot of technology, almost all the technology that you see that people are developing around IoTs and server farms and a lot of innovative technologies, even all the applications that you are using, TikTok, Facebook, WhatsApp, they all are using virtualization in the background, right? They cannot survive running servers without virtualization because virtualization helps us to optimize the resources. So definitely virtualization helps evolving the emerging technologies, and virtualization is like a tool used to used by these evolving technologies, right? So that's my take on that. Shahid, you can elaborate more.
Yeah, so virtualization actually it has started in 2005, 2006. Uh, when it was started like using commercial usage, it was before that. But actually, virtualization has evolved already a lot, and you can just it has made a lot of things possible which we could not think before. For example, you have to test something on mobile devices, let's say, right? You build an application, you have to test on mobile devices. So before, you used to build the package, you install it on the mobile device, then you take it to the user, and then they will use it, and then you get the feedback. Now today, we have virtualized devices available in the cloud, so you can deploy hundreds and thousands of uh, Apple device or Android device you want, iOS device or Android device. So you can deploy simply those virtual devices and you can test your application on those devices. So this kind of things, even you move forward, virtualization has evolved into another thing which we call it containerization now. So in the containerization now, we do not create a virtual instance of hardware, right? So as I told you that we have a guest operating system which will see that hardware virtually, but we have passed beyond that point, and we do not need to have virtual hardware anymore. So we have uh, what we have is a container. So what is a container? Is container is a instance where you have your application and all related libraries running within an operating system. So you could run maybe 10, 15, 20 containers within one operating system. They are sharing the resources with the isolation required that no application will interact with the other application, will not take their resources, or will not take their data. So data is isolated. So we have went to that point as well, right? So it is already evolved. It's not, I will not say it's an emerging technology. It's already evolved technology, and it's quite mature. What I see that maybe in next 5 to 10 years, everything will be virtualized. Almost everything you will have will be virtualized. People will stop using those standalone silos, and they will move to virtualized and cloud environments. So, of course, cloud is all based on virtualization and containerization. So everything is built on top of that already. And as I told you, so we have reached, we are virtualizing now desktops, we're virtualizing mobile devices, we are virtualizing all other, even like in the virtualized environment, we just provide a browser as well, virtual browser. It will just simply do the browsing function and in a scripted way. So you can, if somebody is aware of this, when you do some application testing. So you write a script that will go using Selenium. If I don't know if, how many are developers there. If you have ever used Selenium to work with testing. So we provide a mobile browser device. So you can run your Selenium script with that browser without having any device, anything, anywhere. It's just in the cloud, and it can run all your test script, everything. So virtualization is always evolving. It's all the time. We're going more and more services with the virtualization now. And in next 10 years, I'll see that we will have very rare silos, that any standalone application installed and running on a server, it will be a rare thing. So
Yeah.
everything will be over the virtualization.
So virtualization is key, is important, is not stopping, is evolving with a lot of new enhancements. So learning and knowing virtualization is very important for all the IT professionals. And before you start the Windows part, on the who just joined, on the right side, there is a activities tab, or you can see that next to the chat window. That's where we have some quizzes running, right? So whoever have not given answer could just put your answer to the quiz. Okay. And meanwhile, shall we continue, right? Let's start with
Okay.
the video.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So, okay. So now let's. I'll just go through Windows operating system. So we have seen very big list of operating system. Of course, we can't go all of them. So I have picked two major operating system which actually are involved in server side, right? So our main goal is to look into the server operating system and see how those operating systems, what we can do with those operating systems. So I'll just go through very quickly with the history of Microsoft Windows. So in early days, like 1980s, 81, uh, there was no Windows. In 81, actually, I think 79, the Microsoft DOS was operating system. It was a command line only. Okay, and on top of that DOS operating system, they started developing Interface Manager. Interface Manager was a graphical interface that was inspired by uh, Mac OS. So Mac, they used to have interface manager at that time in a graphical interface. So it was inspired by Mac, and they tried to prepare that interface manager. So interface manager was a GUI, but it was not a success for Microsoft. They couldn't sell much on this. So then they launched Windows 1 in 1985. It was multitasking. So multitasking means you could run more than one application at a time. So in DOS, if you start one application, so that screen is captured with that application, and you can't run another application. So it was single application service operating system. So then you will the Windows launch GUI Windows 1 in 1985. That was multitasking, means that you could run multiple application at the same time, although one of them will be executing at one time, but you could run at least open multiple applications. uh, it was successful, but not that big. Again, till Microsoft reached Windows 3. Okay, Windows 3 was in 1991-92. So that was their success, where Windows was widely adopted by the market. Windows 3.1, 3.11, they were the two versions. 3.1 was without network, but 3.11 was with network support, means that that operating system can be booted from network, and it can connect to corporate network directly. So Windows 3.11 was major adoption, and that's where uh, everything has changed for Microsoft. So Microsoft has become Microsoft after their success in Windows 3.11, and then from there they launched Windows 95. That was a game changer. It has a start menu, taskbar, and improved multimedia. And the first time plug and play was introduced. Plug and play means that you connect a device, so Windows will automatically try to find out drivers for that, and will load that module which can control that device, right? So as we said that operating system kernel should be able to load modules, right? So that's how it works. So Windows 95 was able to load the modules with for the devices connected, and you don't have to reboot or restart the computer to get your device working with this. At the same time, Windows 95 was desktop operating system. At the same time, they launched Windows 90, Windows NT. So Windows NT was their first server-oriented operating system for Microsoft. Of course, it was offering multitasking and a lot of security features, and they introduced the concept of domain. So domain was the concept where you could connect multiple server operating systems to work together from security perspective, right? So if you join the domain, so you have common security domain. So all the security principles, they applied to the domain. Windows NT 4, that was 1996, was actually uh, uh, again a breakthrough for Microsoft, where they introduced Active Directory. So they, from the concept of domain, they modified that concept to Active Directory. So Active Directory is something which you can say is like your uh, some profile service. So each computer, each user, each resource in your network can have a profile associated. So with that profile, you could define who can use it, or who should have access to it, or you can create billing or whatever you want with those profiles. So that was the main thing when Microsoft Windows Server operating system was started to be adopted widely. Then Windows 2000 Server in 2000, it improved the stability, and then in 2003 and finally 2008 was where they introduced Hyper-V. So in 2000, Windows 2008 was the main Windows version, which was adopted in a huge scale. So a lot of people before that, they thought that Windows operating system is not stable, and it was not stable as it is today. So after that, Windows become stable. Then they have Windows 2012 server to Windows 2016 server, Windows 2019 server, and then nowadays 2023 server. So all those different versions of their servers are available, and they are one of the leading operating system in server world. Uh, from their desktop operating system, as I told you that they started with Windows 1, then they went to Windows 3.1, which is mostly adopted. Then Windows 95 was one of their major uh, breakthrough in their Windows technology. Then they had Windows XP, Windows Vista was there in 2006, then Windows 7 in 2009, Windows 8. Uh, I have used from 3.1 till Windows 11 all their operating systems. I don't know if anyone else has used all those, but yeah, from 3.1 onwards, every operating system from Windows I have used that.
Oh.
So Haris, bhai, have you used all of
Yeah,
them?
definitely some of them. I think I started sometime Windows 95. When I started, we started
Mhm,
Windows 95. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. So from their server landscape, so if you look here, these are the dates when they launched their server operating systems, and most the feature they have in their servers is Active Directory has become one of the standard in server environment. So Windows Active Directory is main standard as a Active Directory service. So even if you're using Linux, people still they use Active Directory to manage their users and manage their resources. So that has become an industry standard. Remote desktop, you could share your desktop with someone else, or somebody, or you could connect to someone else desktop or server desktop remotely. That's another important service they have introduced, and recently they have introduced remote server management. So that was one of the uh, shortcoming in Windows, that you have to always log into Windows to do something. If you want to do anything on Windows, you have to log in there. So they have introduced remote server management, and this remote server management enables you to, without logging into your Windows, you can simply connect to your Windows instance remotely, and without having Windows GUI to you. You could still do a lot of functions, which include even disk management, browsing your disk directories, and looking at the services, start, stop services. So a lot of different functions you can do through remote management. Another thing Windows has introduced toward their Windows stability was the update service. So Windows Update Service was uh, is something like every uh, period, whatever is 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever period is there. So Windows will release some new patches or updates to their windows. So that in before that they used to release it in a bundle, and then do you install that bundle as a bundle. But once you if everything works fine, you're happy. But if anything fails, so it was very difficult to go and remove those updates one by one. So with Windows Update Service, they automated all that process. If anything goes wrong, you can roll back easily, and whatever need to be installed, whatever updates are available, it automatically downloads those updates within your server, and even you can select that to be automates to be applied automatically. But if you do not want to apply it automatically, you can schedule that. Okay, when I want to do those updates. So all this is toward the ease of use, ease of management of the server, and the stability, right? Uh, Another important part they introduced in Windows Server was the PowerShell. So PowerShell is like command prompt, but it's much more powerful than that. You could interact with all Windows services through command line, and you could write some scripts, and you can automate your jobs in Windows, and those PowerShell scripts could be run remotely. You can run from remote computer, and you could manage everything in your Windows environment through PowerShell. So that's another important addition they have done. Actually, it was introduced, I think, in 2003, but it was not mature enough. In 2008, that was the main area where PowerShell was used. Last the thing is failover and clustering part. Windows Server, as I told you, the server operating system is something which need to be available all the time. Server need to be available all the time. So with failover and clustering feature, we make sure that multiple servers, they work in parallel, in cooperation, with each other. So if one server fails, so all the services running on that server are moved to another server within that group, right? So within that cluster, we call it a cluster. So that clustering feature is also one of the important addition to Windows services, Microsoft Windows, which make it more robust and reliable operating system. uh, okay, so what kind of services would provide Windows? So as I told you, top of this list is Active Directory. It's a centralized user and resource management service, can scale to thousands and millions of users actually. And this is the topmost service from Microsoft. And even you are not using Microsoft in any of your environments, still people would like to use Active Directory as their centralized user access management. And other thing what Windows offer is Internet Information Service, is their web services. So you could run a web server in Windows, and it use .NET and I think ActiveX control. So those kind of things which are only available to Windows environment. So you don't have that kind of uh, uh, development tools available in other web servers. So a lot of people, they use Windows web services because of those tools. Uh, Other than that, we have Microsoft Exchange, is the email and collaboration services. So you could run your email and collaboration services within Microsoft. So that's called Microsoft Exchange. Then there is the Microsoft SharePoint, is another collaboration and document management platform that is used by corporates. Normally, within the corporate environment, you have some document management platform where you keep all your company's documents, so everybody can access those, or people who need to have access, they can access those documents. So the Microsoft SharePoint is another service that Windows operating system they provide. Another very important thing is Microsoft SQL Server. So it's a relational database service, one of the popular database, very huge footprint in the market. A lot of people, they use Microsoft Windows service because SQL Server database is installed on Microsoft Windows. So that's another very important service. File sharing, all the people, they start file sharing, they start with the Microsoft file sharing service. So you have Windows server, you will just share your drive with the colleagues, with the people you have in the network. So it starts from there, and it comes to a very fine-grained CIFS server in Microsoft Windows, where you could control the resources, control up to file level, who could access which files and whatsoever. So all these services, they are based on Windows, and they are specific to Windows, Microsoft Windows environment. So all these services are offered by Microsoft Windows. So if you are working in system administration, so you might be working with one or more of these services. You might be managing these services as well, or at least Active Directory, but it could be something else as well. You will be managing those services.
So these are the very important services. Take a note of these services when we take a Windows servers. So these are the very common services. There are others for sure, but these are the common services people want to run. Especially with my experience, I have seen Windows Active Directory or Microsoft Azure Active Directory is the most common thing because everyone wants to authenticate users against the user ID and password, and Active Directory is something that brings that functionality, right? So Windows Active Directories are very popular. Secondly, the Exchange servers everyone is using, and SQL, as Shahid mentioned, is extremely common. Is and it comes with Windows, right? So you don't have to pay for extra licenses. So these are the common services which people definitely, when you buy the Windows server, they run, and these are the very much used in the industry.
Yeah. So just one clarification, all these services include Active Directory. It's including in the basic Windows license, but Microsoft has now uh, changed the licensing. So their operating system is a separate license. Their SQL Server, SharePoint, Exchange, they are now separate licenses for quite some time now. So they've changed all those licenses. So it although it comes with Windows, you can install it, but there is a license to use it now.
I think Majid is asking Azure also comes under these services. And Azure, I won't call it is service of the Windows. It's like a cloud-based service, right? Azure.
Yeah. So Azure is actually the cloud platform from Microsoft. Okay. So being cloud platform from Microsoft, of course, they support Windows more than anything else. Okay. Uh, their Active Directory is Windows based. All their Active Directory is Windows based. What you call it as Azure Active Directory. So that is a Windows instance. In AWS also, we do provide Active Directory, but that Active Directory is also based on Microsoft Windows. Okay, so even in AWS, if we provide Active Directory connectivity, so that Active Directory is also based on Microsoft Windows Server. So that's why I said that Active Directory is almost we can call it's a standard that wherever you will have Active Directory, you will be using Microsoft Windows. Although there are other people who can provide this, who were providing these Active Directories. We used to have Netscape Active Directory. They're the one who started Active Directory. There was a Novell Network Active Directory, but all those are left behind. Only Microsoft is the standard for Active Directory now. There is LDAP is equivalent to Active Directory. Open LDAP. Open LDAP is a open lightweight Active Directory platform. But its adoption is not as good as Microsoft Active Directory. So that's why maybe if you see all over the world, 90% maybe deployments are wherever people are using Active Directory, they're using Microsoft Active Directory. Okay, so now we talk about virtualization. So in Windows as well, we have virtualizations. So Windows, they have built-in hypervisor. They call it Hyper-V. So Hyper-V, uh, it comes in two flavors. Okay, so within Windows host OS, you can install it Hyper-V as a service, and you will have Windows operating system as a main host operating system. On top of this, you will have Hyper-V hypervisor installed, and then you will have Hyper-V Manager. Uh, so this Hyper-V Manager will actually manage you can manage virtual machines, create virtual machine, install them, run them through Hyper-V. Okay. Then Hyper-V is a standalone bare metal product as well. Okay, so you can install it on a bare metal server where you do not have any Windows operating system installed already. You install Hyper-V directly on that, and then you can remotely manage it through Hyper-V Manager, and you can run all your virtualization workload there. So in Azure, many of their not everything in the Azure cloud. In Azure cloud, they use many different type of hypervisors, but in some of their virtualizations, they do use Hyper-V as well. Okay, when you enable virtualization, so it will need this something in Intel VTX or in AMD AMD V. the BIOS settings, you need to change that. Normally, these days, all laptop, desktop, they're coming with those settings already. But if it is not, then you might need to just enable that. It also allow you to configure virtual switches. Okay, so you can configure virtual switches, virtual network interfaces, and it also allows you to create virtual hard disk for storage, so you can simulate virtual the what you call storage virtualization as well. Okay. Okay. Another important thing with Windows is Windows registry. The way Windows work, okay, it register everything in a database. They call it Windows Registry Database. Okay, so Windows Registry Database actually all the configuration you have done on your system, that all configuration is stored in an organized way in your Windows registry. So whenever you install a new software or you install new device, everything will create some entries in Windows. Okay, and then uh, those entries are used by the programs within the Windows to identify the devices, to access the devices, to see who can use the devices. So all those things, they are uh, done through this registry. So it's essential for the smooth operation of Windows operating system. And if something is changed in Windows registry, it may impact system performance and stability. Sometime you may need to go and modify something in Windows registry, sometime to remove some software from the Windows operating system, or sometime for some software to work properly, you might need to go and modify Windows registry. So that's why you need to understand what is Windows registry. Of course, if you look at it, it's looks quite complicated, but yeah, it is a very organized database. You can look into your machine, then your user, your software installed, then each layer, it is very organized, and you can finally reach what you're looking for. When you need to modify it, as I told you, when you install software or remove software, sometime you need to change program settings. So sometime you install programs with default settings, but when you want to change it, you might need to change registry. Sometime in the system configurations, you need to go, for example, hardware device drivers, how to use their maintain their configuration. So you need to go and modify. Sometimes some troubleshooting you need to do, and you need to fix your registry, or to tweak something in the registry to change the system behavior, or even for some time for the security settings, you need to go and change something. For example, in security, you might want uh, something like what is the password requirement, for example, right? So you could go and change that password requirement for your system, that it should be how many characters long, or it should, what is the complexity level in the password. So all those kind of things you could do in the Windows registry. In day-to-day operation, you do not go and modify your registry every day, but once system you're setting the system, or once you are changing something in the system, you might need to go and do those changes. So that is why it is important to understand that what is Windows registry. And this Windows registry, it is unique to Windows operating system. We do not have such centralized database, configuration database in other operating system like Linux or any other operating system. This is unique to Windows operating system, and it started from Windows 95 and upward. All the Windows, they do have registry settings. And although as we moved up, so Windows has minimized user interaction with the registry. So many people who have started using Windows 8, Windows 10 desktops, they might not have opened their registry ever, right? They might not know that they have some Windows registry as well. But before that, Windows 7, Windows Vista, Windows XP, we used to work with the registry. For many devices to work, you have to go and change something in the registry. For some software to uninstall or change, you have to go and clean up something in the registry. So we used to work with registry a lot. But from Windows 8 onwards, in the desktops, you do not have to work with the registry. The same applies to the server side as well. Most of the applications now, especially you're using from Microsoft themselves, they do not require you to go and modify registry. But there are a lot of application. For example, you want to install Oracle databases, they might need you to go and change some parameters in the registry. So you need to understand that how registry can be modified, what how it looks like, and how it can be modified. Any question we have so far? Okay. Let me just take you to Windows Server. Okay, so uh, this is Windows Server 2016. I have installed here already. Okay, this I have installed it in a virtual machine. I'm using this Oracle VM VirtualBox. Okay, so in Oracle VirtualBox, I have installed this. Now, if I just want to, from the virtualization perspective, I want to show you what this guest operating system sees. Okay, so in guest operating system, what we tell that, okay, you have a system, so you have some memory. Okay, I'm giving it 4 GB memory. Base memory is around this much, which is around 1 GB, and then I'm giving it total 4 GB memory. So from 1 GB to 4 GB memory it can use. So system sees that I have 4 GB memory, and but actually I'm telling it to start it from 1 GB. Okay, don't use it 4 GB immediately. So if you can start from 1 GB is fine, and then you can grow up to 4 GB. If you look at the processor, I'm telling it you have 2 processors. Okay, and you should start with one, right? Not even one, it's almost a half processor, but yeah, you can go up to 2 processor. Okay, so this is what we are telling it. And as I told you that hardware virtualization, we need to enable that. So it's already enabled in my case. Uh, as you know that video memory is always required, right? So I have allocated 128 MB video memory, and I'm telling it to start with all memory. Okay, if you look at storage, right? So in the storage, I have created a device. I'm telling it to you use your virtual device, virtual storage. It is 50 GB, right? But actually it is using 14.4 GB. So how much I'm allocating it now? Actual use. Whatever is actually it is using, I'm giving that. But actually I told it that your quota is 50 GB, you can use up to 50 GB. But actually I'm giving it right now is what it has asked for. So my total installation has taken 14.4 GB. So actually it is using 14.4 GB, right? So I have other devices attached. So uh, you see that disk I have attached here is 4 GB, because I did not write anything on there. So actual usage is 4 MB. So 4 MB is just to create the file system on that device, right? So I have another one here, same thing, another one here, same thing. So I haven't written anything, any data on those devices. So you don't see anything written there. So actual size utilized is only 4 MB. So this all what we are doing is storage virtualization actually, right? Audio, I'm not interested at this moment, is the server. Okay, network type. So in the network, what we have done here, we have, okay, I can say it is connected to network, cable is connected or not connected, which adapter it is using. I have selected NAT. I could have selected different networks here. I am saying NAT to mean it is connecting to my main router in my house and getting IP address from there. I could have used bridge. I could have used internal network. Internal network means it has a network connection, but it won't be able to go anywhere outside. Or I could use it host only adapter. So host only adapter means that it can be connected to the host operating system from where, which is my laptop, right? So from my laptop, I should be able to connect to it, but it will not be able to go anywhere else. And generic network driver means it's a simple network driver. It doesn't connect anywhere, but it will have a network driver available. So I could connect anyone of this network. So in my case, I have connected into NAT only. You could pass your USB devices as well, right? In my case, I didn't had to, and that's all. So this is the configuration which guest operating system sees. Okay, so we are going back to guest operating system and see what it should see, right? This is my guest operating system. So if you look at it, right? So the I have just let me this PC. So it should show you the size utilization as well. So it is thinking that I'm using 27 GB. Sorry, out of 14, 27 GB is free. So it is out of 40. So 27 is free. It's almost 14 GB, right? So which we saw there in the configuration. It was telling that 14 GB is free, and overall file system is 40 GB here. Uh, okay.
There is a question, Shahid Bhai, from Omar.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
asking about that in this example, which one are you using, type 1 versus type 2? And normally, the second question is that type 1 virtualization, can it be done on the desktop PC?
Okay. Uh, First answer for the first question is this type 2 virtualization. So why it is type 2 virtualization? Because I have uh, host operating system, which is my Windows, right? My personal Windows operating system, which is here. If you could see that. on- Yeah, this is my Windows. This is my personal Windows. And then I have guest operating system, which is running in here, right? So this is my guest operating system. So this is type 2 virtualization. Type 1 virtualization, I can run, yes, but then I will not be able to run my host operating system here, and it will not have any user interface. So I will need another device, another laptop to connect to it, and then do all those things what I was doing here, right? So uh, if you have only one PC, you can't run type 1 virtualization. So you can only option for you is to go with type 2 option, right? If you have multiple PCs at home, you're connecting them, so you can run type 1 virtualization. You can install it on a bare metal, and then you can connect to it and control it from some other PC. Is it okay?
Yeah, like
Okay, so you look at it. So from this we created some what we have some disk assigned, so we could see that disk inside here. So this is where we're looking from guest operating system, right? So what guest operating system is seeing, this is what we're trying to see, right? So let me show you from, show me more details. Okay. So How much memory it should see? 4 GB, right? So from the configuration, we have assigned 4 GB. So it should see only 4 GB memory, right? How many CPUs it should see? I have assigned 2 CPUs, right? So it will actually will not give you, yeah, it's giving it actually a number of processor as well too, right? So we assigned 2, so it is giving me 2 processor here, right? So these are the resources what we see from the guest operating system. It can see an network adapter as well. It is connecting to some network, some 4 GB memory we assigned, CPU we have assigned, and disk we have assigned. So it can see the disk. I just want to show you the disk from some other perspective as well. Uh, think, uh, so normally, if you're working as a system administrator, you will be working with all these tools here, what we have here. Okay, so I'll just go to computer management. So I just want to show you disk management. As I showed you, there are 4 disks I have attached to this uh, device, right? So you will see 4 disks attached here. Disk 0, this was the main operating system disk. I showed you this size was 50 GB. So this 50 GB disk. And then rest of the disk I have connected here. Disk 1, 2, 3. All of them are 4 GB each. Okay. After uh, it's showing you 3.9798, adjusting its block size. So okay, so all this it's showing you here. So this is what we see from the configuration, whatever we have assigned here in the configuration settings. So host operating system only sees all those information, right? So we have assigned here uh, two CPU, right? And from the memory, 4 GB memory, and from storage, as I showed you earlier, it's disk number 1, 50 GB, and then disk number 2, 3, and 4, right? 4 GB each. So exactly same thing you see uh, in the system here. So as a system administrator, you might need to create disk volumes, for format this disk, create volumes here, uh, create mount points for them, manage those disks if the disk is getting full, how need to clear it. So this kind of different tasks you do, or even sometime you will be looking at event viewer where you could see that what is happening in the system, and you can correlate those events with the things happening when CPU is going high, when CPU memory is going utilized full. So you can see those events in the event viewer, and then from there you can take action. You understand that what happened to my system, and from there you could resolve those issues, the problems you're facing with the system. It's taking time to load. Okay, come on.
Meanwhile, there's a question from Majid. Uh, can we use SSH to connect to Type 1 VM? It
Yes, yeah.
depends, right? It's a Windows machine or Linux machine. For Linux machine, for sure, you can use SSH to connect, right?
Yeah, you can connect to remotely. So SSH means that you want to connect remotely to your Windows VM. Yes, you could do that. Even you can connect remote manager, or you can connect through remote shell, or you can connect through remote management service. So there are 3 different ways to connect to your Windows service, Windows server as well.
But most common method is what? Virtual desktop or something? I mean the
Okay,
remote desktop.
so logging into Windows Server and doing things, that's the obsolete method. Okay, so what
Mhm.
I'm showing you because you are doing it first time, right? So you want to see it, how, what does it mean? So you want to physically see and visualize it. That's why I'm showing you this. The common method to do it, all those things, through remote management. So you will have remote management, or you use some PowerShell scripts to do all those tasks for you. So you will run PowerShell script, it will log in remotely, it will do whatever you want, and that's it. So we normally monitor and do things remotely. We don't log into the Windows. As you see that it's slow, right? It's a virtual machine, it is slow. Whatever I will do here, it will be slow, right? So in normal environment, you do not want to do this. It is slow because it has to display those things, whatever we are doing, right? It is not slow when it has to update the database, modify the things. It's not slow in that. But when it's creating that display presentation for us, so we can see this is where it is slow. So when we connect it remotely, you won't see that slowness. Okay, so it will work fast. Okay, and any other question for Windows?
I think it's so. Team, is there any questions? I think this concludes the Windows part. Definitely, I know that today's session is a bit heavy in a sense that we went through from virtualization to Windows, and we still have to go through the Linux part. I'm not sure if we can do it today. Probably, Shahid, if you have time, maybe we can postpone it to next week, the Linux session.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay for that.
Because
Yeah.
I would encourage guys to, in the folks here on the call, just to make sure that they go through the slide deck, and maybe this video will share the recording, just to make sure that they are familiar with the concepts, especially the concept we discussed and touched is about the type 1, type 2 hypervisor virtualization. How is it helping? And you have seen this demo where Shahid on his PC running type 2 based virtualization means that he's having his Windows machine, and on top of that is done the virtualization, right?
And if you will have the slide deck, so I have these two links where you can uh, run the same similar things, right?
So this is
Uh,
these links are for the practicing, right, on their own.
yeah. They will understand that what are the basic things. It includes how to install it within their Windows without even installing anything additional. So they can just simply go with the enable Hyper-V and then install those Windows Server and those things for practicing. So these links include a lot of information for them to work on this Windows environment.
Great, 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 great. So what do you guys think on the, I think we should stop here because I think it will take at least another half an hour to go through the Linux content. If you guys are okay, we can continue. Otherwise, we take a break here and we connect next week to complete the Linux part. It's up to you guys. Just quickly let us know what
Yeah,
most of you.
let's continue next week.
Yeah, I think it's a very long session, right? Already.
Yeah, it's okay. So next week we can do it. I do not want to push too many things. It's already too many things actually. So
Right.
yeah, so let's do it next week. Yeah.
So next week the plan is that I think next week we have one more speaker coming is gonna show us some Kubernetes and Dockers and all that. So before that, these Kubernetes and Dockers are more advanced concept. I would say everyone just make sure that go through the today's deck, and also first session we'll do over the Linux, right? After that, we'll go to the Kubernetes and probably a little bit on the machine learning part and all that, right? So someone will show us. So before that, make sure you get familiar yourself with the content that's being presented today. And meanwhile, if anyone has any question, please feel free to ask now. And especially Omar, go ahead. I say what you're saying. In my office laptop, I used to use two operating systems on my laptop and Windows and Ubuntu, and it was not worked by virtualization type 2. Umar,
Yeah.
you feel free to ask. If you are, just ask openly to Shahid directly what you're trying to do. And उर्दू में पूछो, मुश्किल नहीं, just make it
Yeah.
easy on you.
Um, Actually, in my office, I used to use two operating systems like Ubuntu and my Windows. Like when I open the laptop, it gives me options, uh, choose Ubuntu or Windows. So I'm confused that you said before we can't use in normal laptops and PCs. Type one.
Okay. So that what you were using is you were using one at a time, right? It give you an option. Either you go with Windows or you go with Ubuntu, right?
Yes.
So it is not virtualization. So what we call it multi-boot. So when your operating system is loaded, when your system is booting up, right? So in the boot in the disk, we call it a boot record. So if your disk has multiple boot record, so it will give you option, so which operating system to pick up. So you pick up from there that you want to go with Windows or you want to go with Ubuntu, but you cannot share anything between these two, right? So either you go with Windows, either you go with Ubuntu. So you don't have anything to share in between them, right? So that's what we call it multi-boot. So we used to have that multi-boot, but nowadays, today, you don't need that multi-boot. You can have your Windows booting within Windows. You can with virtual Hyper-V or with Windows service for which Linux. There is a Windows service for Linux as well, which allow you to run Ubuntu within Microsoft Windows. So you can run Ubuntu within Microsoft Windows. You can run Ubuntu application within Microsoft Windows. So you do not have to do that. So the dual boot, you can have it in the same Windows, both of them together at the same time, and then they can share with each other if any data need to be shared or any application you need to access from one uh, operating system to another one. So you could do that both together.
Yes, Umar, important takeaway is that what you are doing right now, you are using one operating system at any given time, right? When you boot up, you will use either Windows or Ubuntu, right? Now, what Shahid is reflecting that there is a way technology enhanced now that you can run multiple operating systems, right? And at the same time, Windows is running, Ubuntu is running, and maybe you are sharing some data between Windows and Ubuntu. And for that, you have to run both of them in parallel, right? So that
Yeah.
is possible and that is very much doable. But definitely what will happen that when you will do that, your laptop resources will get busy, right? Your CPU will be high, memory will be high. So you at that time you have to look at the capability of the machine, how much RAM you have, how much CPU you have, right? Because both are running at the same time. And it depends how many applications you're running on each, right? That will make your machine slower, right?
So
Thank you.
yeah, so it is not that much slow. So you can easily manage, like it's just work under Windows. So Windows is your main host operating system, and it's running that as a virtual container. Actually, you could call it as container. It's running as a container on top of Windows, and that make it quite lightweight as well. Okay, so you could easily run that.
Any other questions from anyone before we wrap it up? Okay then, Shahid, thank you very much. I think we'll connect probably next week, same 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pakistan time. We'll try to finish in maybe 30, 35, 40 minutes the Linux part, right? So, and then we'll continue for rest of the one. So everyone, please make sure that review the content, right, and go through this hands-on link that Shahid has given for the server administration and all that. The more practice you do, then it will become clear. Theory seems sometimes sounds confusing. What is type one? What is type two? It all buzzwords, right? But when you start doing it, when you go step by step doing it, then it start getting clear and it becomes more simpler, right? So do practice, read and practice. Don't just read it. This all the content that we have seen in this course is all about practice, right? The more practice you do, then things becomes clearer and easier. Okay, then I think we'll stop here and we'll continue next week. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Shahid. A special thanks to you for this.
Thank you, Aris Bhai, for giving me this opportunity, and thank you guys,
Thank you.
all of you. Thanks. Bye.